What's going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today we're going to talk to you about Rivian. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what's really influencing the pricing, go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So right now it is down 2.05%, recovering fairly nicely, in fact, from the low of $11.97 brought on because of good old CPI. So CPI did come in a little bit hotter than anticipated, but if you look at the true data, based on the energy component, it did go up 2.3, so meaning the other basket items did go down. So of course, if you kind of look at the true data, it's somewhat okay. And if you piggyback that with the data that came out last week regarding consumers, it shows that consumers are kind of still out there spending the money and so far surviving. I know a lot of people are struggling, but technically based on the data points, still shows that the economy is relatively strong. So this is why you do get a lot of volatility and why most likely you did see that kind of upward momentum somewhat from the pre-market as soon as it did come out. But beside the point, I think a lot of people are starting to realize once again the data wasn't all that bad. And so far today there has been no news, no SEC filings from Rivian itself, especially based on my last video. I kind of talked about all that. Since my last video though, there has been a lot of hype on social media regarding their unveiling, right? So the R2, and oddly enough, I think a lot of people were very, very excited about the R3. And when it comes down to the unveiling during that video, I did say that I wasn't really a fan of the look, but you know what? Based on all the posts that's been out there, it is starting to grow on me. Of course, we don't really know a lot of specs that I'm aware of. I think there's some speculation, but we don't really know specs dollar value wise or performance. So I think based on whether I think it's going to be a success or not, I think I'd need to see that. But still, you know what? The look at least is starting to grow on me. So who knows? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. The only thing that really came out since my last video, there was a SEC filing, came out after hours yesterday, a 144. And so that did show this individual right here, a Jeff Baker, who is a officer, is going to be selling roughly about 31,000 shares. So not all that good of news, of course. And based on this, it looks like it was just a lot of stock that they received throughout 2023 and beginning part of 2024 for compensation. So still nothing really crazy, not a good look, but again, people need money for various reasons. So I'm not really kind of pinning this as a massive negative. Aside from that though, shorts are doing not that much. So increasing 46,000 shares, 17.53% of the free float is being shorted. And that works out to be 121.01 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average is 1.03%, and you do see some signs of manipulation once again because cost to borrow minimum is negative, so it is negative 0.2%, meaning there is a broker out there physically paying people to short Rivian. But despite that though, Rivian's performance, stock performance at least, has been doing relatively good. So when it comes down to some of the data points and latest updates, so starting off with options, $2.75 million in calls being purchased versus 2.14 million in puts. Sentiment wise, honestly, today is somewhat evenly divided. So 48% of all the options being done so far in the market is bearish. So of course, they do anticipate more of a pullback. I don't know. It looks like based on this, most of that was purchased first thing. So obviously factoring in CPI. So I kind of think that's somewhat skewed, but looking at some of the call options that are being purchased, there's a consensus for it to be above roughly $13.50 by the end of this week, and going into next week, it looks like around the same, so around $14. And then looking at puts, it is anticipated for it to be sub $11.50. So I think the risk versus reward is definitely very much there. Big money. So these are some of the transactions that have occurred on the secondary market above $100,000. So big money clearly has just been taking a step back leading up to CPI, and they're not really buying the dip as I think a lot of people would have anticipated, and you could tell that based on the overall volume. Despite that though, the technicals do look fairly good. So as you can kind of see right over here, so this is the Elliott Wave technicals. I do like to bring this up and refer to it because a lot of people are very big fans of the Elliott Wave technicals. So it does have a pivot point of $10.60 right here. So for as long as Rivian is above that, which right now it is, then it is anticipated to get between the $18 to $19 range, which is kind of epic if you think about it, because it was on a slippery slope. And I feel like once the market does digest the recent CPI data, this is where we can get back on this trend of a nice upward momentum. So let me know your thoughts on that. And while I'm on Interactive Brokers, this is the new desktop version. On a side note, I really do like it. So if you're looking for all of this good information in one location and for it to be free, just take a look at the description and also the comments. There's a link to this so you can just take a look at it. It's very advantageous. But you can see there was a new rating that did come out yesterday, a sell rating, $9 price target by UBS, Joseph, who does have a 51% success rating. And then aside from that though, several that was done about 4 days ago, 5 days ago, ranging from about $20 to $11. As a consensus though, analysts do feel like there is a 43.71% upside and an average target of $17.95. So let me know your thoughts as far as that goes. In the short term, some support and resistance points for you to kind of watch for is right over here. So with it at $12.49, it is trading between this pivot and this R1. So $12.32 is going to be that next strong support that you'll want to watch for it to hold today and going into the rest of the week. Vice versa, $13.50 is going to be that next strong resistance. A lot of the broader market is starting to recover from the CPI data, so I feel like it is fair to assume that Rivian will have enough momentum to get to this R1. It did actually test this yesterday. It failed to really break past it, so that's why today in general would have been more of a consolidation day, even despite the CPI data. So I think all in all, Rivian has a lot of good future prospects, especially more so with the R2, R3, and just by this news as well. A lot of people seem to think that this is a negative by them pausing construction of the Georgia facility. And I see that as a positive sign. They're just trying to obtain profitability, and one way to do that is cutting expenses. So I think in reality, it is fairly good, but then again, I'm not a financial advisor, so you guys always do your own due diligence. Looking on the actual chart, so it is kind of flirting still with that central boiling band part, wanting to really break above, and so far it has been holding. But again, I do feel, especially with the rest of the week, the broader technicals looking somewhat optimistic, it will transition into this higher percentile and have enough room to at least run to the $15 range without the next big resistance point. Looking at stochastic, you do see a nice deviation, so white line above the red showing a bullish sentiment, and number of retail investors are slowly coming back into Rivian. So give yourself a shout out if you are one of those individuals that did recently buy, or if you're potentially getting in, and why. I should have been on the ball. Unfortunately, I had an appointment first thing in the morning. If not, I would have bought the Rivian dip. It would have been epic to buy below $12. So I think I might just look at options for that. So if you have been doing options, because based on this, a ton of money is getting into Rivian through options. So if you are similarly one of those individuals that likes to do weekly options on Rivian, definitely let me know in the comments, because Rivian is very volatile. I'm sure you guys know that by now. So options traders love volatility, and Rivian right now, especially if you sell $12 puts, like if you really like Rivian, you can always sell puts. For instance, if it goes below that price, then you get to buy it at that price. If it doesn't, then you get to keep the premium. Well, I guess regardless, you get to keep the premium. So this is why I really like to target a lot of stocks that I have in my portfolio and wouldn't mind adding in general. So this is why I sell puts, but I'm ranting a little bit, so my apologies. So don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe as well. What is your thoughts, for instance, on shorts and this kind of blatant manipulation? Even though it hasn't really done all that much to the share price, what is your thoughts on that? But aside from that though, one final thing I just wanted to share with you: take advantage of this promo. Simply sign up for an account with Moomoo, throw $100 at it, and you get 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. So take advantage of this. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.